There might actually be momentum for a Kyle Tucker extension. Let's go.
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, alongside Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy. Sam and I are lifelong fans, taking our passion into a discussion with you on all things Cubs. Thank you for being part of the show and making us your first listen today. And the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen or watch every day. Today's episode is presented by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $250 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Cubs Padres recap to close out the show. And right now, news of possible contract extensions. Later, Pete Crow-Armstrong. And first, with Kyle Tucker, is following the news of Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s extension with the Blue Jays. Kyle Tucker is alone at the top of the 2026 free agent class. However, we bring news today of the increased possibility he doesn't even make it there. Since Thursday, there have been multiple reports of the Cubs and Tucker's team discussing a contract extension. First, it was Mike Rodriguez, Mike Deportes on Twitter, and others have followed. Rodriguez first reported the Vlad extension, which is a nice twist to this. Hector Gomez added details on Saturday, saying the extension would be for 10 or 11 years at 450 to 500 million with no opt-outs, no deferred money, and a full no trade. And this was even more encouraging. Jeff Passan said on the Baseball Tonight podcast with Buster Olney, he thinks Tucker will sign with the Cubs. Sam, we're going to get to Tucker's numbers so far this season, in which the Cubs are off to a nice start, and he's established himself, even before this, a top 10 player in baseball. But it does seem like optimism has increased.
Yeah, for me too. I originally, when the Cubs first signed Tucker or traded for Tucker, I thought to myself, okay, it's a 1-year rental. We know Tom's history with this. Their biggest contract in team history didn't even cross the $200 million threshold. They're going to be lining up and whatever. And then, so many people said, well, they have to sign him. They have to sign him. And you were really the first person to get me thinking last week when you said, if you can't retain Tucker, after all this, that you have to think about selling the team. And that really got me thinking. And I asked around the league, and everybody kind of said the same thing, and nobody had any sort of inside information or anything like that. But everyone kind of said the same thing. They have to find a way to get this done. Like, you can't just do this deal for 1 year. And then I heard Cap on his podcast kind of say the same thing, and he gave like a tentative deadline for the All-Star break. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, like there's momentum. And that all was before those two reports happened late last week that you just talked about. So I think there really is some momentum. And for me, it really comes down to like pressure. They're going to have to pressure. I mean, I think this is gonna, if Tom Ricketts wants to get this done, he will. And if he doesn't, he won't. But I think just hearing from the fan base and continuing to do this, because we talked so much about how, all right, well, maybe we don't want to ruin the year by doing this and by talking about it all the time. But actually, after second thought, this is something that should be brought up. This should constantly be brought up, because if you're the Chicago Cubs, which you are, and you have a player like this who's performing like this, there's no reason you shouldn't be able to bring him back if he likes it here and it's comfortable here. So, standing ovations, curtain calls, all those things. I think we all could kind of feel a part of this, and you almost just want to start pounding the table and putting the pressure on Tom and company to get this done, because it does seem like it is something that could really happen.
Yeah, and on that episode last week, I could repeat a couple lines. One is I'm going to do everything I can to enjoy the 2025 season.
Mhm.
I will say, in part, that was because I had always put, like at our live event a couple weeks ago, someone asked, "Hey, what are the chances?" I said 10%.
Yeah.
I think that's gone up a little bit now, but that's part of the reason I want to do everything possible I can to enjoy the year. However, as we've discussed, in the last few days, we should all do everything we can to help impact this decision, uh, if at all possible, if applicable. And you have to think that the All Star break is a logical de facto deadline for this sort of thing. And even if it's not, the longer you wait, the worse your chances get. I think, in a way, especially in wake of the Vlad
For
decision.
sure.
There's been a little bit other extensions around baseball, not necessarily ones for impending free agency, but there is some precedent being set. And folks, if Kyle Tucker isn't the position player the Cubs can invest the big years and big dollars in, then we do have a big problem. And if he's not the guy, then who is? And what does Tom Ricketts truly want to achieve with his club, even after winning the World Series almost a decade ago now? And the Cubs traded for this player. Jed Hoyer made the deal. Uh, the time is now. He's under your roof for an entire year. You can't act like a mid-market team anymore. You can't act in the gray area. They really need to take advantage of this opportunity. I'm glad that there's a churn of news happening. That churn is even a pleasant surprise at all. And for this to keep moving the ball down the field towards this is positive, and it would be absolutely incredible if it actually happened during the year. I mean, imagine if this guy didn't even get to free agency, and you could make an easy case. We would enjoy this season even more,
Right.
especially after the unfortunate news to Justin Steele. Not to mention that it does have baseball impact. If you know who your right fielder is for 10 years, then Owen Casey and Kevin Alcantara, while you still can make a case they should be in the mix with Happen Sale only having a year and three quarters control or whatever. It just makes some guys expendable and things like that. So there's just so many factors here, and it would be incredibly exciting for a fan base that is starving for something like this.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people will be like, "Well, why would Tucker do it?" Like it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense for the Cubs. So why does it make sense for Tucker? The same
Yeah,
way it would make sense for you and me, and that's why the earlier the better, because he's got, you know, obviously we don't wish injury upon anybody. We don't wish, any issues with the CBA or whatever it is. But like, if you have $475 million on the table, and maybe you could get that to 520, but it also could go down way under 4, and you like where you're at, why wouldn't you just take what you already know is there? I mean, we don't know what if a team like the Phillies just says, "Hey, before we hand out another $500 million, before we hand out another really big contract, we are, we want to see what the CBA stuff, how that happens, and if there's any rule changes or things like that." It's a little bit of a shaky time to be a free agent, so you might as well just wrap it up and get it done while you can. So that's his case. I think it comes down to, does he really like playing here, and
right.
can Tom get it done?
Yeah, you as just an individual, you build more certainty if there is, oh, you have that offer for that amount of money, I'll just take it now. So I'm glad you went over that. Entering Monday in just 18 games so far, Tucker is slashing 324, 442, 648 with more extra base hits, 13, and more walks, 15, than strikeouts, which he has 9
Unbelievable.
of.
That's unbelievable. That's a crazy stat.
Absolutely a top tier player and no doubt a star.
That's crazy.
Incredible stuff. Other contract extension news popped over the weekend, and we're all playing catch up in the event of the breaking news over the weekend with Steele and the Cubs' big series win over the Dodgers. Before we get to Cubs Padres, let's talk about the next extension candidate in Pete Crow-Armstrong. Stay tuned.
This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are almost here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. I love how FanDuel makes betting so easy, whether it's picking my favorite team or diving into player props. As we head into the NBA playoffs, I got to tell you, and I hate to say it, but the Lakers at plus 1,600 to win the NBA championship does feel like pretty good value with the way they're playing and the draw that they get. They don't have to worry about seeing OKC potentially until the conference finals. I can't wait to watch the NBA playoffs and see how all that unfolds. So don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today.
All right, we're back here on Locked On Cubs. Over the weekend, Pete Crow-Armstrong and the Cubs discussed a contract extension. They discussed it last month, but cannot agree to terms, at least for now. PCA is under team control through 2030, and he's ARB eligible, which is when players get significant raises for the first time. ARB eligible after 2026. This is the first year PCA is spending seemingly an entire campaign in the big leagues after a cup of coffee in 23 and 123 games last year. MLB.com's Mark Feinsand first reported Saturday that the extension could be worth up to $75 million, but the Athletic's Patrick Mooney said that that was inaccurate, including some details on framework. PCA's agent is the same one that helped finalize Corbin Carroll's massive 8-year, $111 million extension in 23 with the D-backs. But Mooney points out the Cubs might be more inclined to do something like 7 for 63, which is what Ezequiel Tovar got last year. Tovar is also a defensive first player over at short for the Rockies. Sam, PCA, he's lots of room to grow, especially offensively, but elite defense, elite speed, dynamic skills, dynamic personality. Where does he fit in a possible extension bucket? Because that really wasn't on my radar.
Yeah, I think these negotiations are so tricky because it really comes down to arbitration versus team control. So how big of a raise was he going to get from arbitration to set extension? And then in return, how much was he going to give the Cubs extra years of control for? And I think because of the Super 2 stuff and all that good stuff, which I don't really know a whole lot about, but I just know he's probably, once he hits arbitration, he'll make some money. But it is harder because he's a defensive first guy. So it doesn't really value, He doesn't get paid off of that. My guess is that he bet on himself. And he probably feels real comfortable, continuing to perform because, from his perspective, well, it's like, hey, all right, maybe I might get a slight raise or two here, but what if I play to the way I know I'm going to play? It's a lot different than a Kyle Tucker situation. Then I'm in play for a lot more money. So this one's a little tricky. I wasn't surprised that it came out and that they talked to him about it because it just seems like the new thing in baseball.
That's true.
With these young guys. I just was a little bit put off when I heard about it because it was right in the middle of the Tucker stuff. And so I was like, I hope they're not doing
manipulation.
Yeah, exactly. I hope they're not trying to be like, hey, stop talking about Tucker. We tried to give PCA $75 million. You know what I mean? So that was kind of my takeaway on it. We'll have to see, what happens with it. But I suspect I'm not worried about it. You know what I mean? He's under team control till 2030. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, 5 more years after this year's a lot. He would get a massive raise, if because he's not even ARB eligible next year. So that would really be the high earnings difference.
Right.
Because he might only be making $780K next year or whatever it is. Slight bump from the minimum requirement. So yeah, I think the volume of years is really where both the team and the player seek some incentive there. This really is a trend right now. That's true, especially even just an influx of them since opening day. And so, the Cubs at least meeting with PCA's people and PCA being involved in this, after the game Sunday, he said he's still open to it. But,
Right.
5 more years of control, it's a lot. And so, from the team perspective, if the most he's going to make in arbitration is, let's say 10 M's, who's being incentivized when? Typically the player is, especially early on, to buy out the ARB years, even buy out the automatic years where you just make six figures. So, maybe this is something they revisit in the summer or the off season, but I could see why there'd be reservation on both sides. I have personally some reservation about his bat still,
Sure.
but there's so many other qualities, including the ones outside of the lines,
Absolutely.
that we both appreciate.
Yeah.
That intrigues me about this kid being a Cub for a long time. And if you pair that with the dude we talked about in the first segment, you mean to tell me that 2/3 of their outfield is going to be locked up by these guys for at least the next 6 years? Because that 6 would probably be the minimum either side would take in PCA's case.
Right.
That it is exciting in that sense.
Absolutely. And I think all that stuff goes into it and probably is why they offered him. 2030 is a long way away. And I think for his sake too, it would be better for him to just wait, because I think he believes that there's more to show with the bat too. So why sign an extension when I don't feel like I've fully shown what I can do yet? So, I'm glad that they had the discussions. It makes sense for both sides to have the discussions. And I think, to your point, ultimately it makes sense for both sides to probably not agree. I think it makes a little bit more sense from the Cubs side to get a deal done, because I do think there's a good bat in there somewhere.
Yeah.
But I respect PCA and gambling on himself. And look, hopefully, if all goes right for the Cubs, what'll happen will be we'll be talking about, man, I wish they offered him just a little bit more because they could have got a bargain, because this guy's a star. Because ultimately, you want to have to pay guys a lot of money. You want that to happen because it means they're performing on the diamond.
Yeah, there's definitely an all-star level caliber player in there. You know what I've been meaning to ask you, and I haven't yet, either here or off air, and it's because he's tried it. Is he not as good of a bunter as we thought, or is he why isn't he a good bunter?
It feels like he's not a great bunter. It feels like he tries to bunt for a hit. It feels like he doesn't trust his speed enough.
Okay.
Where like he just needs to get the bunt down instead of running to first base. And it also feels like now we're coming off.
But not just right out in front of the plate.
Right.
Yeah.
And it also feels like, we're coming off of him having a breakout game Sunday. So hopefully that's
amazing
sign of things to come. But also feels like he's just missing pitches in the zone where it looks like his bat's like just a tick slow on those things. So that would be my two observations, because I actually think he is not chasing a ton of terrible pitches right now. So
yeah, for as prolific as a swinger he isn't necessarily a free swinger,
right?
Because he is swinging at strikes. He's just he's late and keep tabs on that, especially early in the counts,
right?
Or when he's ahead, because those are obviously the money counts. All right, a lot of extension news, a lot of news period with the Cubs right now. We get back into games with Cubs Padres right after this.
This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Basketball and hockey playoffs are heating up, and there's no better way to turn your sports knowledge into real rewards than with Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy. With Prize Picks, you simply pick more or less on at least 2-player projections, and you're in. You could even combine players across sports, basketball, hockey, baseball, and more, for your chance to win up to 2,000 times your cash. I'm sticking to what I know, which is this baseball team, and this week, this game's, I like against Randy Vasquez. I like Kyle Tucker to go over 0.5 home runs, along with PCA over 0.5 steals. You put those two together, you could get yourself a really, really nice payday. So download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game.
Cubs lost to the Padres 10-4 on Monday, now 11-8 on the season. Jamison Tyone only a run on 3 hits in 5 1/3, and then they turned it over to Brad Keller, who, aside from allowing a walk to Xander Bogaerts, I thought he did fine, also topped out at 100. The problem was with a man on first, 1 out there in the bottom of the 6th, pop up in the triangle area between third, short, and left. It dropped in for a hit. No one took charge. Could be Swanson, but based on replays from multiple angles, it looked like Cap should have caught it. That snowballed into 2 runs for the Padres, which snowballed into Nate Pearson taking over in the 7th. He went walk, double, intentional walk, wild pitch, single walk, and ground out, recording 1 out and allowing 3 runs. Merriweather was in gym shoes after pitching the previous 2. Same with Thielbar. Roberts just got called up. Hodge, we know, is the 8th inning guy. Presley, the 9th. Other option there was Eli Morgan, who did finish the 7th after the damage was done. And then he pitched the 8th to the tune of 4 runs on 3 hits. Folks, the bullpen is bad. Craig Counsell doesn't need to be blamed here, as the Wasteland, otherwise known as X, like to do Monday evening. The bullpen needs to be blamed. I'm only talking about the situation in this game because at any time you want to talk about Hoyer or the pitching infrastructure, they're always a part of this convo, right? But in this game, Counsell used the options who were available, and those options, Sam, are pitchers who are bad at baseball.
It's embarrassing. It is embarrassing what they have started the year with. They messed it up last year in April, the year before. It's far worse this year, what they are putting out there. And just to really quick before I go on a rant, Roberts was not supposed to pitch either Monday night. He came in because Eli Morgan left injured, and I believe you can't, as you mentioned, you can't go to a position player there. It was still too close of a game. So he had to extend Roberts, and thank goodness that didn't ruin Roberts' decent cameo that he's been off to, because he wasn't ready to pitch in a game like this. We could sit here and play the blame game all you want. There's nobody, I think, that blames or looks at the manager more deeply than I do. This is a 0% manager situation. If you want to be extremely picky, you can go, well, hey, why did he use Merriweather in a 7-0 game Saturday night? And the answer is because the Dodgers are dangerous, and you wanted to just get out of there with a win and not mess around, because if you brought Pearson in, that 7-0 game would have looked real close real quick. Mm-hmm. J-Mo had that long at bat to Machado, and they got to be careful now with the Steele injury. You're going to see a lot of early hooks. Jed Hoyer and Carter Hawkins and Tommy Hotovy, the whole pitching infrastructure needs to be looked at, because this is beyond unacceptable. Eli Morgan does not look like he could compete at the major league level. You identified him early. You made a trade for him. He was great before he got here. Now he stinks. Okay?
Exactly.
Nate Pearson was a guy you identified in Toronto. Hey, a lot of upside. I thought the same thing. Good spring training. He stinks. Okay? He's not ready. Maybe they go to AAA and they figure it out. Caleb Thielbar, not ready to pitch. Okay? And then you add in, go look at the team across the dugout. Jason Adam was in your clubhouse. Estrada's in your clubhouse. Wisniewski looks much better since he's left your pitching lab. This pitching lab, if it doesn't work out with Jed Hoyer, we say it all the time. This is my biggest criticism. He doesn't know what he's doing with this. And the solution's going to be, well, maybe Palencia will figure it out. Maybe Luke Little will be good. But there's no rhyme or reason
There's
to
no
it.
firm solution.
It's just throwing something at the wall and hoping that it sticks. And here's the last thing before I pass it back to you. When you know that you're not very good at something, why wouldn't you go all the lengths possible to cover it up? Jansen was there. Robertson was there. Tom, I don't understand.
Robertson is still available.
I don't understand why they couldn't fix this. This isn't, guys, I sit here, I say, hey, it's really hard to build a bullpen. It's not this hard, man. When this game was 3-3, and they brought in Pearson, I started getting ready to do the post-game short.
They don't need to live this close to the edge, but they chose to do it again, even after getting one of the best players in the sport.
I mean, they're these guys are. Is that inappropriate when I say they stink? I could say that, right?
Yeah, no, I think it's fair game.
They're awful. I mean,
We're talking baseball here.
These guys, Matt, let me tell you the ERA on these guys. After today, Pearson has a 10.38, and that seems a little flattering. And now Morgan's up to 12.27.
Well, and both of those guys conveniently have minor league options, although it looks like Morgan's going to be placed on the IL.
I think both guys should be IL
Be
for Morgan
out.
And Nate Pearson should be in AAA tomorrow.
Actually they have to do that even despite performance now because no one can pitch but Hodge and Presley.
The good news is Presley showed a nice sign of progress. Listen, compared to these guys, he looks like Trevor Hoffman. Hodge has been pretty.
Who does?
Presley.
Yeah.
So he's showing some nice signs because he had one good outing. That's the standard with this bullpen. Right. Hodge has been steady. I thought Keller threw the ball totally fine. If infield hit, Hap gets the ball. And then Merriweather, who I think's fine, but like he looks way better than he is because of these guys. I mean, there needs to be more competence added. Thielbar's it's not close. And I'd like to see Luke Little.
And Thielbar was the guy who even in spring ball was now close.
No, and nor was, by the way, Ryan Brazier's coming back soon. He had a bad spring.
Oh, he was awful.
Yes.
Well, he's not. No, he's not coming back soon.
Oh, he's not. Well, because I saw that a lot today. Like, where's Brazier been? I don't think you've got an update.
No, he's still in Sloan.
Okay,
doing game sims. So.
Look, I'm not overly.
I mean, maybe they put Assad. Could Assad pitch 1 inning or 2 innings at a time?
I would think
they're going to have to do something like that. This isn't going to cut it.
No, it's
okay.
No, and the thing is, it's like this loss isn't even bothersome. They're playing a great team who's got a great
bullpen is bothersome.
It's just the bullpen. I mean, PCA was great again. It's great to see him heating up. My all-star bid still intact for him. Quiet day for Tucker. I mean, let's be honest. Can we give a little credit to Seiya? Man, does this lineup look pedestrian when he's not in the middle of it? Like just off the look of it.
Yeah.
It just doesn't look good.
The look is strange.
Yeah, it's just really strange without him in there. And by the way, I just want to mention another note on this game. Matt Shaw got pinch hit for John Birdie late. If he doesn't start to show signs offensively, he might get sent down soon. And I'll do a segment on that for Tuesday myself.
Well, I actually did have him in my outline. If I could just speak on him for a minute here.
Please, just anything but the pen.
He's 3 for his last 24. He is putting the ball in play. But,
not hard. And
he's holding third base down defensively.
Mm-hmm.
Justin Turner and Gage Workman aren't full-time options there. But the wrinkle is Birdie.
Birdie's a better option right now.
And Horner, we'll find out tomorrow. Is Horner doing the 5 games in a row? Because if he's good to go from here on out, then I think Birdie starts at third on Tuesday.
Matt Shaw has hit one baseball according to Statcast that's considered a barrel.
Yeah,
I mean,
for his last 24.
He's not hitting the ball hard at all.
Shota Minaga and Randy Vasquez.
And I think he's going to be good. I'm not giving up on him at all. It's just he might need a little bit more seasoning. I mean, even his infield hit today. His hit today. It wasn't.
So why didn't they? And okay, I unfortunately it is on nights like this, even though they didn't necessarily blow the game, the big picture gets revealed.
Yeah.
And we had a great couple segments there, including the Tucker one. It's just like, why did they add people that basically don't improve the team after the Tucker move?
Yeah, I don't think they
added multiple guys that don't even improve the team.
I don't think they're really I don't think they know that. I think they think they're going to be better, and they're misidentifying.
Imanaga and Vasquez, as the Cubs try to even up the series. Padres are now 11-0 at home.
Wild.
Sam is going to be solo indefinitely on this program. Please join him. Please join him tomorrow night.
That's a joke, folks.
It's true. Sam's going to be solo this season on Tuesdays.
Hey, according to FanDuel, Cubs -150 against the.
On Tuesdays you're by yourself, which I'm thankful for.
Oh yeah, but you made it sound like I'm solo forever.
No, on Tuesdays.
Oh, the Cubs should win Tuesday night. So
okay, he's Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy. This is Locked On Cubs.
Go Cubs.